Since 1943, New York City Center has welcomed some of the greatest dancers and choreographers into our studios. Alvin Ailey, George Balanchine, Martha Graham, and Arthur Mitchell all have walked through these doors. Join us for a behind-the-scenes look at the practice and performance of the great dance artists of today. Welcome to New York City Center's Studio 5, in person and on demand.
Good evening. Thank you. All right, these guys are my favorite. My name is Mike Rosenberg, and I'm the president and CEO of your New York City Center. And I'm very honored and excited to invite you to tonight's Studio 5, where we're going to talk about the Dutch National Ballet. All right. Okay, this is a tough crowd. You guys better be ready. If you came to fall for dance, right, you heard me make this joke, but this joke worked every night, so I'm going to keep making it. And that is, it has been more than 40 years since Dutch National Ballet have come to New York City to perform. 40 plus years. We're very excited to have them back. And of course, you may recall that it was about 400 years ago that they were in this neighborhood all the time. Still works every time, every single time. Yeah, I'm going to get out of the way because we have an extraordinary panel here tonight. And our host for this evening, who will introduce to you all of the fabulous people who are here, is the delightful, the divine, Alastair Macaulay. Nice to have you back in the building.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming. I'm privileged to introduce Dutch National Ballet, and let me straight away, Artistic Director Ted Brandsen, and his assistant, Beaujean. And these two are part of the history of the company. Ted, you joined the company when?
I joined the company in 1981 as a dancer.
Right.
Yeah.
And Rachel goes back further. We worked out tonight that she and I began watching the company when you began dancing, which is 1977?
Yes.
That's right. Dutch National in those days used to come to London. It's part of Nureyev seasons at the Colosseum.
Yeah.
And it seemed with good Dutch style that all the choreographers had surnames beginning with Van. It was a triple bill of Hans van Manen, Rudy van Danzig, and Tur van Schaik, I remember.
The three vans, yeah.
Yes, vans. Can we also introduce our dancers? They're going to move away after a while, but we'd just like to, at this point to introduce them, and then we'll interview them at greater length. So can I introduce Jacopo Tissi and Olga Smirnova? Please. Then can we move you along? That's. Both of whom have some New York history. You may remember that Olga Smirnova first danced with ABT in Giselle and Festival Baudelaire in, I think, 2014. A little earlier that spring, had been to Moscow and seen her dancing with David Holberg in Marco Spada by Pierre Lacotte. And there was 2017, Jacopo, that you danced in the International Jewels at what we still call the New York State Theater.
Yes.
That's right.
That's right.
These two first began, am I right, to dance together when you were at the Bolshoi?
Yes.
Olga has the most extraordinary history because she was much talked about as a dancer with the Vaganova Institute, and it was known that quite a lot of companies were bidding for her favors. Coming from St. Petersburg, she chose not to dance with the St. Petersburg company, but chose instead the Bolshoi. And then the Bolshoi straight away said, you don't need to dance in the corps ballet, we'll put you straight on as a soloist. So this is quite an extraordinary, illustrious dancer from the beginning of her career. and has come back to ABC a number of times, danced in Giselle and other roles. Jacopo, you've been here in the jewels that I mentioned, and you've also come here for Fall for Dance.
Yes.
Dancing with Olga.
Yes, we did the 4 Schumann pieces by Hans van Manen, right. Yeah. And then we came back with Olga dancing Romeo and Juliet, Balcony Parterre, just a few weeks ago, actually. It feels like yesterday. Yeah.
I've got so many, I don't know whether to ask you all my questions now or later on, but I do want to ask you now, what was it like to start to dance Western Van Manen choreography when you were used to dancing the Bolshoi repertory? Which is unfair on you because you were at La Scala before, so you're already a Westerner. But Olga, can I ask you, what challenges did the Dutch National repertory give you?
I don't know. First of all, I'm not a great talker, so I'm very sorry in advance. Of course, I was lucky to join Dutch National Ballet, and I'm personally grateful to Ted Brandsen, who invited me and who made my transition very smooth. And we have a variety of the repertoire, classical and modern productions. But talking about Hans van Manen, which we will rehearse now, I could say that it might seem sometimes quite simple, very minimalistic. And for me, it took time to understand the style, because you don't have chance to show off. You don't have chance to, I don't know, like brilliantly turn and then stand in some position. Maybe not women, men maybe more often have some variations. So for me, it really took time to understand the quietness of the movement, to understand how to show the sculptural beauty, to listen to the music, the partner, the silence between notes.
It's really getting into a new world, you know, because at the Bolshoi mainly you dance a traditional repertoire that is proper to the theater, so you kind of get also the style of it, of the ballets you dance. And then of course, coming to Dutch National, we got so many opportunities to enlarge the repertoire and to dance new styles, which of course occurs also to challenge yourself and put yourself to learn how to dance differently and discover other choreography like Hans, which has very specific requirements, which has beauty and simplicity, musicality, choice of step. So it was, I think, it is a very interesting path, and it's beautiful pieces to dance.
What has it been like Thank you. What has it been like working with Van Manen himself? Am I right that he's in his 90s now?
93, I think.
93.
Yes.
Of course, we learn all the steps with Rachel, for example, with his assistants, and then Hans comes in the studio and he gives the last corrections. I remember when I did variations for 2 couples, he said, "Oh, darling, can you do it more dirty?" And I'm like, the first encounter with Hans, like, dirty, how should I do it? He's very direct in his corrections. And I think he wants to see the essence of his choreography, the meaning, not just the steps, but when you do one step, it means like you're leaving from the partner or something else.
Yes, the intention.
Intention. It's not just you're doing movements on the 3 or on the 5 or on the 6. So he gives you the last important
details, colors.
Yes.
Yeah. So of course we are very lucky to have him coming in the studio, and he enjoys working with us, and we couldn't be more happy for the master to be with us in the studio, and it's creation, so you always give the right nuance for the piece to have exactly sense.
I will ask more questions after you've danced, because I know you feel you'll relax more, but before we let you go away, one reason you are both historic is that you were dancing together at the Bolshoi when Putin invaded Ukraine, something on which all of us here could say so much, but you chose there and then to leave Russia. Would you like to say a little something about your choice to leave?
Of course, it's a very hard argument, because we've been through a lot because of these events. But what I can say is that back then, of course, we saw how the edges of the world were changing and how the directions of many things were being taken. So felt like I wanted to take a choice and a path that I was willing to pursue, following our values. And so that's why then it came the decision to move on and change.
I think I had the choice to live in truth or to live in truth in Russian, and I just simply decided to be on the, I believe it's the right side of the history, and I just didn't want to represent the theater of the country which now doing all these terrible things. I just want to say, of course, the transition to moving to another country, to another culture, it's of course difficult, but it's worth it at the end, because you feel that it's the right thing to do.
That's marvelously put, thank you. Can I kind of go backwards, which is to ask you both why you chose to dance with the Bolshoi, and do you still feel, now that you are in some ways Bolshoi dancers, that once a Bolshoi dancer, it stays with you? Because you could have been a Mariinsky dancer, you could have been a La Scala dancer, or you could have both had very much more international careers. What does the Bolshoi mean to you?
I think I was so lucky, because that time when I was with the Bolshoi, so many choreographers came to work with us. So, of course, I learned something from, for example, from my coach, from Marina Kondratyeva. She's a legend of the Bolshoi theater. But because I had so many opportunities to work with the other choreographers, that it's also enriched me as a dancer. So it's everything like in me, Vaganova, a little bit of Mariinsky, Bolshoi, and all works which I did with many wonderful professionals. Many sides.
Yeah. For me, it was just an incredible opportunity, because when I realized that I could dance at the Bolshoi, knowing the great repertoire, the tradition, it was something also almost completely impossible, because it was the first time an Italian was joining the Bolshoi theater. And I saw this huge opportunity with the eyes of the big dream. So I was absolutely ready to change everything, life and theater, to pursue this dream. And I must say it was a great school. I've worked with incredible teachers. I met incredible dancers, and I'm very sure that shaped me as a dancer. Even as I dance today, it's going to be part of my story. And of course, the meeting with my teacher, Alexander Vietrov in Bolshoi, was key for my development. And yeah, now my growth as an artist continue with Dutch National and continuing growing, expanding as artists and person.
Thank you both so much. You asked to speak after you'd rehearsed because it would make you more relaxed. You're pretty relaxed already, so we're looking forward to what you're going to say. Please go and rest, whatever as you like. Thank you. Ted, you became artistic director what year?
2003.
Right. How do you feel you've changed the company since then?
Ooh.
I mean, I know you've changed it again and again and again. The latest thing, perhaps, is that you've made Alexei Ratmansky artist in residence, who, of course, is well known in New York. But you've done other things too.
Yeah, I hope so. I think the company was not in the best state in 2003 when I took over, and when I also asked Rochelle, who I'd known for a very long time, to be first head of the artistic staff and then associate artistic director. We set out to build first the company back to have a a sense of confidence and a sense of being together, being a company and not being just individuals. One of the first things was also when Hans van Manen, who had been part of the company's life in the 70s and mid-80s and had left to go back to Netherlands Dance Theatre. Hans van Manen was one of the founding members of Netherlands Dance Theatre when it started in 1959, then moved to Dutch National in the late 70s and early 80s, and then moved back to Netherlands Dance Theatre. And when I joined our company as director, he was about to leave Netherlands Dance Theatre again and was homeless. So I immediately thought we should have him back because he's one of the greatest choreographers of this time and he needs a home. So that was an important decision. I think over the years we tried to build the repertoire to bring really the best choreographers from the world to our company as well, bring new full-length productions. Our company didn't have a huge roster of full-length productions, and each year we added one more title to the repertoire. We had the Junior Company, which we started in 2013, which now provides the new growth, the new people who are coming into our company. About almost 70% of the dancers in the main company started in our junior company. And so we have principals who started 10 years, 12 years ago in the junior company, and the youngest ones also. So there's a whole growth that happened. We worked with the school. We worked very hard to give the company a better position. And actually, it's just a day-to-day practice, isn't it? And I'm looking at Susan here, Susan Jaffe. It's a day-to-day practice to see that you can bring things up just a little bit every day. And it's only in hindsight that you can see where you came from and where you are now. I mean, it's day-to-day work. It's like gardening. You know, every day you plant it, you see things grow, and hopefully some of the things that you're planting will grow out to be beautiful trees or plants, and that's what we try to do every day.
I've mentioned Ratmansky. When did he first work with the company?
I think 2008 was probably the first time. Alexei I knew his work from what he was doing here in New York with both City Ballet and later with ABT. He was less well known in Europe, in continental Europe. He had not worked in the UK or in France or anywhere in Europe. I'd seen him at the Bolshoi because he was at the time that I asked him to do a piece for us. He was director at the Bolshoi, and I thought he was just the most extraordinary choreographer. So over the years, he's been working with us very steadily. He's created full-length ballets for us, a full-length version of Don Quixote. Many other works, and so at a certain point I said, I really think you should have a home base also in Europe, and I would like it for us to be that home base. And he said yes. So I'm very pleased with that. Alexei is a force, an incredible artistic force in classical ballet, and for him to be associated to our company is a wonderful thing.
Speaking as a Londoner, I wish to report that I'm jealous.
Good.
I wish we saw his work far more often in London. But am I right in thinking that though you dance the 19th century classics, Dutch National is recognized around Europe as generally a company that emphasizes the modern, the new?
Not just the modern. We always, from its inception, the company was founded in 1961 in a country where there was no history of ballet. Ballet really only started after the Second World War. There were a few very strong, courageous women who started ballet schools and then companies. And at a certain point in the late 50s, there's a time of the ballet wars. It was actually in history, they call it that. There were several companies competing to be the top company. And the Dutch government decided to merge two of the leading companies that were not funded into the National Ballet that was getting funding. And from its inception, our founding director, Sonia Gaskell, set out to do the big classics from the 19th century repertoire, the best of the 20th century, and new work equally divided. So 3 pillars. And actually we've done that since. So at the moment we do all of those things. So we bring the best of the 20th and 21st century from what happens around the world, as well as a lot of new creations. And I think in Europe and around the world, we are probably more known for our later work, for our newer work, our more contemporary work. But by now, we're considered also one of the few companies in continental Europe that still do the big classics in a really big way.
Wonderful.
Because all around us, in Belgium, in Germany, more and more companies are turning into contemporary dance companies and losing the classical. And where we started to be known as the contemporary ballet company, we are now one of the few companies where dancers come because they want to dance the classics.
That's wonderful. Rachel, I am going to ask you a lot of questions, but I'm going to move over to your musical colleague, your pianist, and I'm going to mispronounce her name. But this is Olga Smirnova.
Yeah, fantastic. Right. Right.
Here you are playing Beethoven, one of the hardest sonatas ever written. Admittedly, only the Adagio for it, but you also play Minkus. You play. Tell us of your work.
Yeah,
and company class.
Yeah, it's special work of ballet pianist. You know, we should be able to play class, because they do class every morning, and then you have to be able to wake them up. So I play all kind of music, entertainment music, some evergreens and classical music, different tunes. And then we have rehearsals. Then it could be Don Q, it could be Nutcracker or Sleeping Beauty. Our company has huge repertoire. Sometimes it's also modern music. And then we're lucky that as a pianist, we're able also to perform. So if there is some ballet written, like Hans van Manen, he did a lot. And then we can play it live. So we play with orchestra or solo piano during the performances. So, and then we enjoy to be part of ballet world, because it's very special way when you perform with a ballet. It's like it's one art of music and art of ballet movement and sound music. They come together, and then if it's really they come really together in harmony, it's breathtaking, and audience would feel it and enjoy it. And well, I also love this.
What are the challenges when you're doing Beethoven to a choreographer's tempo? Do you have to take different tempi from the ones that many pianists would like in concert?
Yeah, it was so that in the beginning, if I would listen to Eschenbach, I would wonder because why it's this slow, and actually this he's performing. It's like 9 minutes longer Adagio than other pianists play, like Wilhelm Kempf. So it's like 25 minutes of slow Adagio sostenuto. It's the longest Adagio what exists from sonatas, and also the longest sonata what Beethoven wrote. So it's a big challenge. But afterwards, when I work and I played, and when I watch the movement, I follow the slow movement, and then when it comes together with music, it feels natural. So now, if I would perform it myself, I will never play it faster, because it's already, I visualize the music, so it's movement, it's coming in my soul, so I cannot even imagine it's different, because Hans make us visualize this music. So we see music with our ears and we listen with our eyes, so it's breathtaking feeling.
Wonderfully put. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Is music part of your policy as an artistic director? Do you have particular musical choices? Do you resent having taped music, which many choreographers now go for?
We are absolutely always trying to have live music, and actually in the programs that we're bringing here, we have some live music. Unfortunately, not everything. Yes, it is difficult to get young choreographers to use live music, especially orchestral music, because it's more complex, it's more difficult. And there is a notion that you can use music that you can make yourself on the computer. And very often there's music that is like wallpaper, that you can put a lot of movement and it always looks good, but it's actually not a response to that music. So the art of working with music is sometimes getting lost, and we always try to stimulate choreographers to work with good music. And we have, fortunately, also an orchestra that's dedicated to work with us, the Ballet Orchestra, which is a full-time orchestra working for our company and for Netherlands Dance Theatre, and they specialized in working for ballet and performing the enormous range of music that is being used by choreographers, from Tchaikovsky and Minkus to Stravinsky and everything else that you can imagine.
You dance an international repertory, and I know at one point you danced a lot of Ashton ballets, but you have this repertory founded, was it in the 70s, by Van Manen, Van Schaik, Van Danzig? Yes, particularly Van Danzig and Van Manen, the two main choreographers. Has anybody tried to define what is Dutch about the Dutch national style?
Yes, it's something that we are asked also. It's a Dutch style would be unfussy, very direct, like the Dutch tend to be also in their beings and in their language. Very direct, very no frills, a more, I don't want to say unsentimental, not unromantic, but unsentimental approach to dance. It's not always about storytelling, it's about telling stories with your body in a very clean and direct, abstract way. What else can I add to that?
Yes, this is the moment
Is
really
this
to
pretty
bring
good,
in.
huh?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You were dancing Van Manen from the beginning of your career as a dancer?
Yes, in the first year he casted me for 5 tangos, which is in the program that we do here, which was unusual because, you always have to start in the back when you join a company. So, and he told me later, he just saw me and thought she has to be in the cast, so I was in it. And there was a funny story about that because there was a step in the ballet that I couldn't get, and so he was imitating me. He was quite a tough coach, and it lasted 20 minutes. Everybody sat down, the whole cast who I'd admired as a dancer, it's principals, and everybody had to sit down. And then I was like, should I cry or should I just continue? So I continued. And then afterward, of course, I cried, and I don't cry pretty, so I had eyes like this. And I met him in the hallway, and he said, "You didn't mind, did you?" And I said, "No, not at all." And I think that was the beginning of our long-lasting relationship, because he knew he could kind of use me as a punch bag and find out things together. And that's what we then did and we still do, actually. So that's 49 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long ago did he start to make you one of the coaches, rehearsal directors of his repertoire?
That came in the 90s when Sarcasm, which was a pas de deux that was created on me, went in Essen, and he said, "Would you like to stage it?" I was still dancing, and I staged it, and I thought, I want to do this. Because,
oh, really?
Yeah, I loved ballet so much that I was already thinking ahead, like, when I have to stop, I need to continue. I can't just get out. I need to. And and it was so nice to look at other people and not yourself, because that's what I found one of the hardest things. After many years, your body is your instrument, and you're always confronted with it. And then there came a time where I was very happy to actually see the talent that I could coach and bring across a bridge and get further with them and just portray on them rather than just on myself.
And this was, well, you said essence. So first of all, you worked with German dancers before you then went back home and started doing it with your fellow Dutch dancers.
Wow. Yes, actually the dancers were Italian, you know, ballet is so international.
Of course.
And recently the dancer who I had staged it on, she staged Sarcasm as well. So we have a lot of stagers within the Hans van Manen Trust who go out, and because his works go all over the world. Like,
I was going to ask you, have you now worked internationally all over the world doing Van Manen?
Yes, even at the Bolshoi, at the Mariinsky.
Wow.
They did an evening of Hans van Manen at Mariinsky, and they did one ballet, which was performed here as well, Frank Bridge Variations, in the Bolshoi Theater. I think about 14, we have 14 projects per year, so in different companies.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most striking things about Van Manen for me, and I don't know all of his repertory by any means, is the big musical scores he takes, really some of the greatest works of the concert repertory, that most choreographers would be shy of handling. Is that an issue in working with them, or is it with dancers, or is it straightforward, you just teach the movement, or what?
No, I mean, with Hans, he never talks about the content, because he says always dance should be about dance and nothing else. So he never tells a story like, I'm going to work with the dancers soon and then I will probably tell them more than he would. But each ballet of his, that's I think part of the genius in him, and it sounds very easy, but it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And most ballets don't have an end. It's very difficult to make a clue, to make a rounded resolution. And he says he needs to know the end before he starts the ballet. So he knows, he has an idea, knows the end, and then works from the beginning chronologically. And the music is quite unusual because he doesn't read music, I don't either, but he's very intuitively using the music in a way that we can, like Olga said, really see it with our eyes.
It's funny, as I'm talking to you, I'm beginning to find an answer to the question I put earlier on, was what is Dutch about the Dutch national style? I don't answer about the whole company, but it occurs to me from the few Van Manen ballets I've seen that they express sometimes a more liberal view of partnering and of sexual relations, gender relations on stage. And when I look back to what I was seeing in the 70s, Four Schumann pieces, which you've just danced here, has short 2 male-female duets, but then a male-male duet, and it's just straightforward. What goes on in grosse fuga between the men and the women, with the women very much taking a strong part. I mean, it is controversial, setting that to the biggest harmonies in Beethoven, phenomenal. Which I now realize I connect with the liberal enlightenment that I always see as characteristic of Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think it comes from he has a great desire to emancipate people, actually, women, men, people, and I think you see that in his ballets, and so everybody recognizes something in that. He couldn't do without, because then it would just be decoration. So he needs to have a message.
And in his works, always, men and women are absolutely equal in strength. They're not, even though they have different roles, there is differences between men and women, but there is an equality that comes from Hans's absolute belief that people are equal, that there's no bosses and there's no servants, there's no
victims.
There's no victims, never. And also he created, I think in the early 60s already, in one of his metaphora, a duet for 2 men in a very classical way. He said, yes, because men also can be partnered, and men don't always have to be the strong one. And it's an interesting thing that went through, and you'll see also when you see our program, that it sort of has had influence in on other choreographers and in our repertoire.
This is wonderful. When I was working here for the New York Times, the big issue in the newspapers was gay marriage, which had already happened in London, but was still an issue in America. And as I was thinking, and gradually I think I had never been a critic who ever advocated anything. I just reviewed what I reviewed. But now I started to think, actually, in a world where there is gay marriage, we should see same-sex partnering. And sure enough, in those years, we started to see same-sex partnering in American choreography. But then it occurred to me, of course, where I had seen it before was Van Manen. He was ahead of everybody then.
Yes, he was, yeah.
Remarkable. We're just about ready, I think, to start the coaching session. Is there anything you would like to say about Van Manen before we do?
I think I'll get it, while we're coaching, I can throw in some,
In that case, I'm happy to hand over to you, unless Ted has something else to say.
No, let's watch the dancers. I think there's more interesting than watching us,
Good.
to be honest.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to rehearse the last pas de deux of Adagio Hammerklavier, and we're just going to start from the beginning. Like Olga said, it's Beethoven, and he wrote it when he was deaf already. Olga, just one little question. How could somebody write this music when they're deaf?
I think if we just talk about all of us, we all have inner ear, yeah, and then you all able to listen music inside of you. You can, remember some even songs from your youth, and then it sound in your ears. And Beethoven, of course, he was, when he wrote this sonata and before already from 1814, he was deaf, and then he lived in this world of music, and then he could hear it, and then also he can create music. And then, because he was master, so he can put it, write the notes, put it on the paper. So it was, this is my answer.
We're going to show you how he wrote it. Shall we just start from the beginning, and we'll do a little bit of... Stop. So it's already very beautiful. What I could say that because we have a waltz, in a slow waltz, that Olga, if you go away, if you could put your 1, 2, 3 and never stop 1, 2. So not the back foot too late. So we already get the feeling of the cadence. And then if it's possible. So Jacopo, don't start exactly with her. You react when she takes the first step, then you go, and you should also not stop in your side and go. So there's no stops anywhere. So after you finish here, Olga, it's like there's not a new beginning. It's if we think that the movement comes from the body, not from the limbs, after the second step, your body goes to him, and that's why it results in the connection with the arms. And then that same feeling keeps going. So there's never a new preparation to the movement, you know what I mean? And then it's a pity if this hand is too much, if we can hide the kitchen, kind of. Yes, great. And you can go further out, 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 out. Yes, there you go. Perfect. And when you do the enveloppe, let's say that, the elastic was so tensed on the hanging out that for the next movement there is nothing else can happen but then a little, again it comes from the body, so not just from the foot, but from the body that the leg comes in through, you know what I mean? So all the movement starts from actually here rather than from the limbs. Just try that. Yes, the second one is good. Never stop with the leg going up. And then already you go. And you just keep going with the leg to the wing. Beginning was much better. I still think if you could do from the penché, if you could, it's not your leg that comes in, but it's actually your pull back that. Exactly. And then it's almost like you watch your leg doing the développé, as a matter of fact. Right. And I think, beautiful, after you've watched your leg do this révérence, then there's already a little bit of a feeling towards Jacopo before the lift, rather than just away from him to the wing. So there's a connection between you all the time. Exactly. Yes, and Jacopo, can you do the lift? So can you do the switch so that is completely still? So you're not doing it after, you know what I mean? And then she's the only one that moves. Good. And then Olga, same from stomach. So, yes, beautiful. So in a sense, you don't do the, from the cambrai, your body goes into the penché, like each time. Should we do it from, do you have musically this flex lift? Very nice, but when she goes into the penché, can she be like almost over, so that when she fourté, she's already off the leg? It doesn't happen during the fourté, Go, yes, yeah, So then she's already off, and she stays off all the time. And then a little bit bigger fourth, Olga, and now she's off, that's right. It's very difficult because the boy cannot move. And then again off front, so she can, yes, super. Do you see the difference? It's so small, isn't it? But yeah, beautiful. So she's never really on the leg, yeah. Yeah. Should we try that again? This penché thing. Could you play the same, Olga? Beautiful. So Hans liked this Eschenbach recordings 9 minutes slower. He said he was interested in the theme of when you throw a hoop, or a wheel, and you push it, how long does it keep running before it stands still and it falls over? So how long can we stretch something that is still interesting in the story of the movement before everything drops to the floor, you know? So in a way, those steps that you have are challenging, because if you stop too long on the last one, it's like you break it. So the beginning was beautiful when you leave with your backside because you decide you're leaving her, right? And you have your accent on that one. And then here you come back, very definite. If you could keep that cadence into the last step, into the lift, so it's all connected, you know? So we don't all of a sudden go, so that's really important. Maybe we could just do that from the steps back. One. And your heel wants to be down on one, yeah. Could do a little tonlier, so there's more accent. Yes. And now you go back with the front of your... Don't rush. That's right. Nice, good. And then, Olga. So actually, when you drop, completely silence. Again, the same as here, you know. So there we break it, and then Olga here, I think, can go a little bit lower, and then it's almost like you're looking at your leg going up, like just watching it go up and up and up and up, before it's going so far that you have to drop it. Otherwise, there's nothing more left, you know. So each time you build something, for it to drop, and then build it again into the next, yeah? Just from after the lift, Olga. It's like it has a life of its own. there's one thing I wanted to ask. If you've done that accent, can this be like a slow motion of, instead of you taking him on purpose, can it be him taking you off balance and you slowly embrace him as you go along? So it just comes from the movement rather than you do. Yes, that's right. Good. Very nice. Then about this solo, you know, you're about to show off now for her. So again, you can use this element of building something. Like in the first steps, they can build, and here deep plie and piqué. Here you're a hero, you know what you want. Yes, there's no kind of holding back on that one. And you impress her this way, and now the next pin up, this, yeah, you know what I mean? And then this one. Do you know what I mean? Jacopo, I think on that, mostly Hans, we focus down because we don't dance for the audience. We dance for ourselves and audience can watch us, right? But in this particular instance, I think you can grow. That's like the exclamation mark of this sentence, you know what I mean? It's not a transition, it's like the end of it. And then you can delay this shot because this swivels so hard when it's too slow. If you do this slower, then you don't have to do this one so slow. You know what I mean? Let's try again. And with Hans also, he was very much inspired by, well, Martha Graham, Glenn Tetley going to the floor in classical ballet. So all of this is like, although we are growing inside, we're still feeling very much the floor, the weight of the floor. So you have that opposition. Yes. So you're not lost in space, you're actually going this way, you know? Okay, one more time. So, hold, delay, and stay. Good. Hold. Terminate. So in this, when you do these ronde jambes, can you already focus where you go to before you go there, instead of doing the body and then focusing after? You know, Hans always says, you don't say hello to somebody, but you say hello, and then you shake hands. So it's the same thing in the dance, you know, you want to focus where you go to. So yes, exactly. And even before arabesque, you know exactly where your focus is before you hit it. Yeah, it doesn't come after, so on these two, you know what I mean? You hit it. You hit it. Yes. And now when you collapse, it should be almost the end of the ballet. And then you pedal, you know? So we have, again, this elastic, drop, and then you go. And then you build it again, yeah? And on this one, could be a bit more aggressive. So you have your pirouette, and you go, bam, ba, ba, shut up. Shut up and ba. Yes, that's it. Uh-huh. But we can continue, otherwise. Yeah. Let's do from where we stopped, the pirouette. It's hard to get, right? That's right. That has to be in one accent. Stop. So this is tam pa right away. And when you go into these steps, it's also again this expansion. You can even use the expansion of your rib cage until you snap into the double tour. Yeah. So funny enough, all the movements are not so much you taking the light and knowing that you're in it with Hans, but it's a bit more you're busy with what you have to do. And you don't feel this outer thing as much as your job, what you should do. You know what I mean? Even on that one. It's not I'm catching, and your focus can stay down. It's just you grow inside. You're more on a mission than that you're being watched. You know? It's hard because as classical dancers, we often, we do find the light, but actually in this, you don't need to. It's just you're busy with something rather than... same place, maybe? Tum, bum, bum, bum. Take your time. That's too slow. Jacopo, before she gets up. One thing, Hans says, what does he say? I don't like romance, I like adventure. So could you imagine that from here, you don't go double tour and beautiful, but you go double tour, bah, finish. Bam, stop. That's it. Exactly like that. And when you arrive, you just stay a little bit touring and go back into it. Yeah, don't keep going too long. Yeah, because that immediately becomes something too romantic. So beautiful how you did the hands. It can be even a little bit more empty-handed. This is me, right? So you're here, right? And then you can go, this is all I have. Yes, just let's do that, and then we can go on. From the last port de bras. You can do from passé. could you come in later? She's on her leg. And I think you can walk. You don't have to semi-run. You can go like, oh, she'll be there, and then you can come one note. He's going to be a bit later, Olga. Bum, bum, exactly. This pirouette is a tricky one, but the nice thing would be that if you have your arms couronne, that it continues into the lift, you know what I mean? Like one movement rather than two separate ones. You want to try it? Music? Let's do from getting up. I mean the music getting up. Just walk. Puck. That's it. That's right. Okay, just a little thing, guys. When after the pirouette, there should be a little bit of an escape. It's not romantic, true. So, but it's also not down. It's as if you carry her, but she wants to leave. She wants to leave, and when you land in this big fondue, you go all the way down, like really down. Then Jacopo, if you can, from here already let her off her leg. And then she goes back down again to escape on the other side. That's right. And, all right. And then this one, Olga, is the same. So you have to actually put her down a little bit more to the wing. And this one here is also, you expand, you grow into the arabesque. Yeah, right. And because you've... Yes. And because of this expansion, you escape, right? So it all builds up again. It leads up to this moment where you leave and come back, you know. Could you play from the arabesque balance, please, Olga? Let's do the first time when she gets up from the floor. One little thing which I always find it's difficult because now it's not so big, but when you run, it could be so that you don't rush the ending, you know, so you take your time a little bit more in the run, so you get there last minute and Olga doesn't need to speed up. So we have this sense of same rhythm from beginning and it doesn't, you know what I mean? Can we try that together with Olga? almost beautiful, the run, everything I wanted to say about this step. Yes, if you could feel like this is never really two poses, but it's something that goes around itself, like a windmill, Dutch windmill, I don't know. You know, instead of back and front, then this definitely cuts. This cuts. And on these, there's a sense of drop. So you go as far as you can and then drop in the balancing. As far as you can, drop. And the last one, you try to hold it even higher so you can build up again to the jeté, you know, so it has always the road up. Let's try from the windmills. Thank you, Olga. I think you got it. Thank you. I notice usually I tend to get like a stand-up comedian in these sort of things, but this is so serious, the work, and it's so specific and so subtle that it's really hard to do. So I hope you enjoyed having a sneak preview on the ballet. And thank you so much. Thank you, Olga.
Thank all of you. Please, you two, let's draw the chairs forward ahead. And Rachel, please join us. Thanks so much. First of all, Rachel, what beautiful coaching. That really draws us all into the movement so beautifully. I've got so many little questions. Among other things, how wonderful to hear the softness of your shoes when you run. I'm so used to hearing ballerinas with very loud blocks. When you ran, it was very quiet. Can I ask about the hands in Van Manen choreography? Because very often, of course, with ballet, we see all kinds of separations of the fingers. How does he like the fingers to be?
Should I explain?
Please.
Because actually, it's very iconic, these movements from him. But he said it's simply, you know, you have second position in classical ballet, and he wanted to make it longer, so we do allongé. And then he was like, when you lift it, it looks even longer. So, and then you expand into the space, you know, like this 5 points or, so that's really what it is. And it's in all of his ballets. And then later when he went to dance theater, we have a joke between the dance theater dancers and us that he went all like down, like the opposite. So we have like before, after. So when I say it's the after, they all go like this. And, yeah.
You've made me forget straight away what I was going to ask next. I think you mentioned something straight away, Olga, about the challenge of dancing to this music. It's a new kind of simplicity that you have to develop. Is that true for both of you? Just paring everything away just so that you see the movement? Sorry.
It's just we don't have a story. That's also was difficult for me when it's abstract ballet, but still there should be some relationship between partners. So how you... I'm still having some story back in my mind. I mean, it's not like literally that I can explain it, but still, like if I'm imagining I'm leaving, or like I don't know, he's my old boyfriend, and then I don't want to speak to him. Something, I still need some narrative to have this tension, right?
Yes, I think you find an underline from all these ballets, even though it's always something you can read. And of course, on every one of us, it's a bit different, but that's all of his ballet. There's always some hint that leads to some thread through the ballet that you get. There is a thought behind.
And do you find that you are making up what little story there is as you're learning it and dancing it? I know this is true with many bits of New York choreography, even most Cunningham dancers. Some of them would say, we have to find a story, even if it's ours, we don't tell it to our fellow dancers necessarily. Do you find you like a narrative?
Yeah, but then it doesn't matter what I imagine, it matters what each of you can see in this story. That's why it became personal to each viewer and personal to us dancers. That's the beauty of Hans' work, because it's abstract, but still you can find something that touches you and something familiar with your story life.
Yeah, I think what Olga said, it's not just about us, it's about the public, it's about the relationship also between the dancers. Because when you dance, sometimes, you know, it's somebody turns the head in a different way to you, or looks like different, and you're like, it's giving a hint of something different, and that comes your reaction. That's how the story also builds up when we are on stage. It's never the same. Every time it's like the first and last time you dance it like this.
Now we're just seeing the pas de deux, but you're going to bring the whole of Adagio Hammerklavier this week. Am I right that that's about 20 minutes long? Whole ballet. Did Van Manen ever show an interest in choreographing the rest of the Hammerklavier sonata, which is, I think, over an hour long? He never wanted to do the rest.
He always says, I could never do a full length because I've told my message in about 20 minutes. So he cannot do hours ballets, no. And about the relationship, it's interesting because he's very much about where you look and how you look at each other and the relation between people. And I think it's true, we can relate to that even if we're not sure what it's about. That's why I think he doesn't have to explain it with the words.
Right.
And Adagio Hammerklavier is with 3 couples, and so they're group sections, then the first pas de deux, then again all together, then again a pas de deux, and then all together, and then this pas de deux.
And this is the final pas de deux.
Yes.
That ends, yeah.
And it was made for principals, and their incredible differences, but at the same time their togetherness in this ballet, and that's a very exquisite tension it brings, I think.
It was new, am I right, in 1973 or 74?
This ballet?
Yes.
73, yeah.
73.
Yeah.
It was danced by the Royal Ballet in 1976. I think only just 4 performances, and I was telling these 2 beautiful dancers that the cast was illustrious at the Royal. There was Natalia Makarova, David Wall, Jennifer Penny with Wayne Eagling, Monica Mason and Mark Silver. And when there's bits when all 3 couples do penché arabesque together, and they all agreed on what is still a fairly standard penché arabesque line, with the leg raised at that angle and the arm descending at that angle, except of course for Makarova, who could be eccentric. She could perfectly well dance an arabesque penché like that sometimes, not that autumn. She had just done Swan Lake at Covent Garden, in which the leg would go to that angle and the whole torso and arm would plunge vertically straight down. And I so well remember seeing these 3 ballerinas doing penché, Monica Mason at that angle, Jennifer Penny at that angle, Natalia Makarova, that with the leg, that with the arm. It was so strange, but she wasn't going to change for anybody. Am I right that you go on?
She's warming up.
No, it's actually, I just wanted to say about this one, because it's hard to dance with other principals doing the same movements on the same counts, because normally we have some freedom to interpret steps or to do even for you, do you remember when sometimes you can do with the open leg, sometimes fifth position, and sometimes you decided already on stage how you're going to do it in the moment. But here we need to be the same, because it's a structure, it also creates the magic of the piece, and it's hard to
even because some smallest thing that you usually kind of decide for yourself, they have to be the same feeling for everyone.
Yeah, the level of the arm, it should be like level of the eyes, the planche, the leg, it should be the same. That's why we rehearse.
Yeah.
And actually I wanted to mention, if I can, about Larissa Lizhnina, who did all this preparation for this ballet, because she's a brilliant ballet master. I mean,
because you need to be sure that everything is so together, then after you can work on the accent, on the breathing, everything. So it's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. You have danced the complete Adagio Hammerklavier in Amsterdam, but this will be your debut?
Yeah, it's going to be my premiere.
Very good luck.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the floor? Is there anybody would like to ask these wonderful dancers? I have to say, by the way, there is already a hand going up, good. But I have to say, I presented some of these things over the years, and I've been a critic for 47 years, and blah, 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 blah. To know that I would be presenting you two gave me a little fan feeling today. So, thank you so much.
I'm curious, over Hans's long and illustrious career as a choreographer, to what extent did he rely on classical composers versus modern and commissioned music?
Hans has worked with a lot of classical music, but he has also worked with James Brown and Nina Hagen and pop music.
And John Cage.
John Cage. He's worked with a huge range of music, anything and everything. Not so much with commissioned music. He has done that once, I think, and that was not a happy situation. Because for him, the music comes first. So if you work with a commissioned score, you don't know what you're getting, and you don't know what, as a choreographer, you don't know what you're responding to. And for him, and you can see that if in this short bit of rehearsal, it's really music made visual. And I think that's one of the very important things that he is doing.
Did he go back to a lot of classical composers for lots of works?
Some of the composers he used many times. He did a lot of work with Bach, he did a lot of Prokofiev, he went back to some Britain. Some composers he worked with only once. Stravinsky he did a couple of times. But yeah, he had exquisite taste, or only the best music, always.
We're going to see the Frank Bridge Variations this week. When did he choreograph that?
Frank Bridge Variations was choreographed in 2005, so that's 20 years ago, when Hans first came back to Dutch National Ballet as resident choreographer.
I mentioned John Cage. I remember the Royal Ballet dancing the Van Manen Pas de Deux Twilight in 1975, and you would have the great Lynn Seymour, and the second cast was Laura Connor. I think it was Wayne Eagling as the first cast man, I forget the second, but it would begin in high heels, and then the ballerina would remove her high heels. I forget whether she was barefoot or wearing tights. Do you remember?
Tights.
Tights. Thank you. And this look of a modern woman, first in high heels and then without, really gave you a different kind of dance drama just from the footwear alone.
No, that's correct. Hans has used that in different ways, to great effect. Absolutely.
Any other questions, please?
First, I wanted to thank you for an incredible experience. Having the two dancers in front of me was like a magical dream. It really was something that will stay with me for my life. It was absolutely beautiful. So thank you for that. My basic question is, what is the easy difference between Russian ballet and Western ballet? An easy question.
Thank you.
Do you mean in a choreographic way, in a school way, in an interpretation? It's a very difficult question because Western choreography can be so different between themselves, and Russian choreography can be very different between themselves. So it's a very, very big
We've probably
argument.
touched on one or two. I would think the fingers alone would be one of the differences. The Bolshoi would have more separated fingers, am I right?
I mean, there is a thing of, let's say, how do you put yourself in a ballet? For example, when you dance Grigorovich repertoire, that was all made for the Bolshoi. It's a huge stage, so there is a lot about your temperament, how you move in the space, how everything has to be very big and loud. So this can be, for example, a difference with another ballet that is very much more in a different style, for example, like Hans, when you cannot use the same language, of course. But that comes also from school, that of course also influenced them to dance. But yeah, there's just so many differences and so many different ballets. So I would say, yeah, that's for sure what it comes to Bolshoi. That's maybe what was the main feature about it. It was like this big freedom and big leaps and movements. So that I can talk, of course, for that, but then you have so many differences, even in the West now, because you have Hans van Manen, and then you have completely other choreography. You have Nureyev, and then Macmillan. So it's many differences.
I would think one difference is a very loose one, is musicality. That quite often Russian dancers follow the music in a way that certainly Balanchine would encourage Western dancers not. Balanchine would ask people to step on the music, often ahead of the music a fraction, whereas I don't mean all Russian dancers, but some Russian dancers really like to prepare on the downbeat and then step onto the next beat. Is that fair? Do you think a fair judgment?
Yeah, but I think it comes also from the school, because Balanchine has his own school where he could prepare dancers for his technique, and they did different exercises to be prepared well for Balanchine work. While when you're coming after Vaganova or Moscow Ballet Academy, of course you prepared more for Petipa or Grigorovich or for classical repertoire. That's the difference comes from the school.
I was thinking also, and this isn't an answer, I suppose, to your question, but I was asking you about why you chose the Bolshoi, both of you. And one of the differences for me, particularly when you were joining the Bolshoi, this is over 10 years ago, I suppose, is that the Mariinsky, and we both, all of us probably revere both companies very greatly and learn from them. When the Mariinsky is at its most mannered, shall I say, that's probably not the right word, they tend to dance ballets as if this is how we've been doing it for the last 100 or 1,000 times. It's not terribly spontaneous. The Bolshoi at its best is often a very spontaneous company. You're giggling. Would you like to enlarge or disagree?
No, probably you're right in some sense. Just because I think Petersburg style, it's more about the form and perfection, if I would say that. It's more clean, while in Moscow the character and the emotion comes first, and then it might be even, like if you see my Setskaya, like finishing variation like this one, in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, you only can finish in a clear position. Yeah, I think
I think David Holberg found something similar. He wanted to join the Bolshoi because he wanted to dance in their big way and eat up even more space than he had been doing in the Metropolitan.
Yeah, there is also a thing as like as a male ballet dancers, of course, from Bolshoi, many teachers, because of course Grigorovich ballets, they have like a strong male parts and many variations with big jumps and this kind of very strong preparation to the role. So that of course gives the character and the difference also between the Petersburg repertoire, that it's more in a way traditional and mannered, because also the choreography stayed more faithful to what they've been doing, and so, and then Moscow is the big power and the taking the space, and you know, it's something different.
Yeah, but you're also touching on why I think people were so moved by watching you tonight, is that when you're dancing Van Manen choreography, you're dancing with a particular kind of modest objectivity, as if the personality of the dancer is secondary. I'm really just here to show the form of what is dancing. And there is a beautiful modesty about it that I think is part of why everybody was so moved tonight. Am I right? Good. And it's not a mousy modesty, it's an absolute purity.
We could do this all night. Many of us would happily spend the night here, but I think
we have to end. It's 8 o'clock. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.